Hello everyone. In this video we'll be talking about Legion and what to expect from Warlocks in Legion. Um, I know most of you won't listen to this entire thing, so I'm just gonna give you some breakpoints of what's gonna happen in this video. So primarily we're gonna talk about Warlock and how to level Warlock and what artifact to get and what spec. It's probably gonna be the primary spec in Legion. Then we're gonna talk about how do you level the quickest and what should you do and not do. And lastly, we're going to talk about how you gear in preparation for raids that's going to eventually come out. So to kick things off, Warlock, to play or not to play. It's gotta say Warlock's in a pretty tricky situation right now. As Affliction and Demo, they have seriously a big problem with the ramp up time. Both of them take an extremely long time to ramp up before reaching the maximum amount of damage, but once it reaches the maximum amount of damage it can do, it deals a lot of damage. While Destruction has a lot of burst, not as much burst as we used to have, but still a lot more than Demo and Affliction. And I think patchwork styles of fights, I'm going to say that Affliction is going to win out on easily. Is because of the spec works, and especially with Affliction, or especially with artifacts, because both Affliction and Demo requires a build up before you can use the ability, artifact ability. As with Destruction, it's called Dimensional Rifts, where it literally is just press it, deals damage, nothing else to it. Where the Demo one you have to build up a lot of pets before you click it, and then it deals a lot of damage. And the Affliction one is you have to gather souls, and then eventually you press the ability and you suck all the souls up and you deal increased damage. Now, which spec will be the primary rating spec? My money will go in Destruction right now, just because how most of the fights are cleave based, or AoE or cleave, and Demon and Affliction are really fucking terrible at both of them. They're good at single target or two target fights, but not when ads spawn and you have to prioritize or priority damage on ads quickly. That's not something Demon Affliction can deal with. However, with the new Havoc talent, Wreck Havoc, cleave and add priority damage is no problem at all. It's insanely good, that talent, and that's probably the primary one we will be going with in the majority of the Legion raids. And when it comes to the artifact, I gotta say, some of these are extremely good. For example, well, Soul Snatcher, Chaos Bolt has 5, 10, 15% chance to refund a Soul Shard. Considering you're limited to 5 in Legion, that's extremely good. And then overall, just getting more and more Dimensional Rifts are pretty good. Now don't get me wrong, Affliction and Demo has very good artifact specs or talents too. I just don't think they're on par with the Destruction one. So what will I be going with when Legion hits? I'm personally gonna go with Destruction, even though I think it's the least interesting spec, but I think it's the fastest one to level with, and it's the more fun one when it comes to the getting the artifact. As you get to meet Gul'dan, for example, which is pretty cool. But I'm obviously gonna get all three. And when it comes to which artifact you should level first, now that's an interesting question, because how it works is, if you spec up to 13 of these talents, it costs as much as specing the 14th talent. So what people recommend right now is go with level all your 3 artifacts up to level 13 and then wait and see what's gonna happen. As I said before, my guess it's gonna be Destruction, but it could just as well be Demo. As far as I know, Blizzard will keep changing specs and keep nerfing, buffing, etc. before the raid hits. I'll talk more about this later when my guide for Death, Affliction, and Demo will come out, which will be sometime pre-raids, or when the raids are about to come out. That's my plan anyway. Most of you already seen the class hall, but we're on a freaking planet in the twisting nether, so that's pretty damn cool. I think it's one of the more cooler ones. However, I do prefer the rogue one. Is pretty cool, like Underdale around and run around and do roguish stuff. I don't even know. The mage one is pretty cool. I think the mage one is the most beautiful one, but most badass one is easily. I just fell off the planet. You die when you fell off the planet into the twisting nether. That's generally what's going on in the castle. So, which zone should you go for first? I recommend don't go to Stormheim unless you're a demon hunter, because you're gonna have a bad time in here if you're not a demon hunter. Or if you have a lot of Goblin Glider kits, then you might be able to have some fun in there anyway. But personally, I'm gonna go with Azuna first. Azuna into probably Valshra, as I find them the most interesting lore-wise. However, it doesn't really matter, because how every stone scales to your level. So you can go any route you want. But you need to do them all and get the reputation to friendly. If you do not get all of them to friendly and unlock world quest, you're gonna have a shitty time at level 100 and gearing up. Because Blizzard has locked some of the content behind having friendly with all of the reputation, with all of the factions. So if you don't get friendly, you're gonna have a bad time. So please just go and get friendly with all of the factions required to unlock the world quests. Because these quests will give you artifact power, which is like basically the most important thing in this entire expansion. It's artifact power. You need it. We only have one weapon this expansion. You need to buff that one weapon you have. And that's also another thing is, if you're a triple spec like Warlock, you can set the specialization, loose specialization, to Affliction, Demo, or Destruction. As you may or may not know, there are different artifact relic slots, and these are different for all of them, for all of the specs. So if you have these filled out on your Destruction one, go in here, switch to Affliction, for example, then we'll get Affliction artifact relic slots. To unlock the third one, you'll be getting a class hall quest chain, essentially. Some people are recommending not to do it before level 110. Some people recommend to do it during the leveling process. Personally, I'm going to do it during the leveling process, as it could be quite a change of pace to your normal leveling experience, and it will give you artifact power, and that's, you know, pretty good. Will there be any professions that's going to be important? No, not really. Personally, I'm going to go with engineering, because that's my favorite spec or favorite profession from vanilla. And you know, Goblin Glider kits are pretty damn useful, and will keep being damn useful. So once you reach 110, what's going on? What should you do first? Now, the important thing is, if you get to Mythic Dungeons, you need to get to Mythic Dungeons as soon as possible, as they drop the highest eye level gear. And for people that's not in a raid or in a guild, that could be a problem, pogging it. But for people who are in a guild, you're gonna have a nice time, because you're gonna easily get into Mythic groups and keep running them to get the high eye level stuff. Because nothing, not profession gear, not world quests, not normal, not heroic dungeons, nothing competes with eye level from Mythic dungeons. But to get there, I recommend doing world quests and heroic dungeons, and hope for the best, really. It obviously keeps speccing into your artifact, as that is the most important, as I said multiple times. So that's generally what's going on in Legion so far. As I said, Blizzard loves to change specs, talents, buff percentage wise, whatever, before a raid hits. I remember so clearly in Highmall, 3 days before they opened Highmall, they changed affliction damage around completely, making it one of the more competing specs. But then destruction took over again with more gear. But you know, that will happen, and that's probably the main reason I don't enjoy having 3 DPS specs, as you have to level all of their artifact power, or all of the artifacts. But you know, there are catch-up mechanics and whatnot in the garrison. I'm sorry, in the class hall. If you have any suggestions, want me to do something, just write them down in the comments. And I hope you enjoy the coming videos, because there will be a lot of spicy stuff coming up. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.